Everybody, John Pagetta here with PT, Dan with Sandlin Training, and PT Ask Dan.
Hey, everybody.
Lord, where did that come from?
Hey.
I know, I understand. So, what we wanted to chat a little bit about today was that concept around change, and do you start changing now even when things are going well? Or most people, we find they don't change until they're really forced to. They're boxed in now and they have to adjust. Easy recent example is Zoom. When COVID started, most of us were forced into that box. There was a very small percentage of people that had already embraced it and looked out, or were more forward thinking, if you will. But there's that tendency to just, when you're in a groove, stay in the groove and you just focus on that and make hay while you can. Those that we find stay ahead of the curve are really thinking out. So can you talk about that change side? And sometimes you position it as, hey, when's the best time to cold call? When you just sold your biggest deal because you're
right.
up, but it's not natural.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So as I was preparing for this question,
Yeah.
one of the first examples I came up with, I have a friend of mine that works for a company where they still are required to use typewriters.
Interesting.
Right?
I have questions, but
I have tons of questions, and one of them is, where in the world do you get the ink for that? The
Right.
little tape thing, ribbon or whatever it's called.
Yep.
How ludicrous is that? And I know if you're watching this, you're going, well, that's pretty silly, right? That's just stupid. But yet we are all doing things that maybe we did pre-COVID that are just as stupid or just as silly. So for example, cold walk-ins used to be something we would always do. You can go into any office building, you could walk into any office and you could cold call. Can't do that today in most offices. Or think about the way people used to sell door to door in people's neighborhoods, knock on the door and try to sell stuff. You don't do it like that anymore. And then you think about cold calling, how pre-COVID, that was just the thing to do. It was so easy to be able to get people on the phone, and now it's harder. And you guys know that. Yeah. And so if we're not changing, we're dying. That's just really my belief. Now, that doesn't mean you need to have every newfangled thing that's out there, but I think you got to keep up with the current buyer. So question for anybody watching this, have you researched who your current buyer is? How they make decisions, how to connect with them, how to get in front of them? Have you really thought through that and researched that, or are you just resting on your laurels doing what always seemed to work before, and then you wonder why your market share goes down?
Yeah, and it's usually a slow bleed on a drop in a market share, so there's not a sudden impact that forces immediate change. It happens systematically over time, and then you're suddenly in a situation where you're going, how did I get here? And what do I do now? And sometimes it's small stuff. It's not major stuff, but it's hard to stay innovative, hard to stay ahead of the curve because you're caught up in the doing on that day-to-day basis. Some of the best practices we see, they meet on a quarterly basis. They have an innovation conversation quarterly. And they say, hey, what's coming? What do we need to adjust? What's going to be different when we meet next time? What do we need to keep doing? Those kinds of conversations. And they get themselves out of their environment to do it.
You brought up a really good point with Zoom. So, I mean, you think about where Zoom was for most of us a couple years ago, how we did it, and where we should be today. So today's day and age, I mean, we should be having really good cameras and great microphones, and our camera should be at a level where it's and yet it's amazing how many times I talk to people on Zoom and you're looking right up their nose, or the lighting's bad because they're in front of a large, bright window. And it's, come on, take the technology, continuously improve on that. Make it work for you, because otherwise you look like you're falling behind.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things you can do. It doesn't have to be dramatic change like you're talking about to get going.
I wear a toupee when I do mine.
Oh boy. On that note, we'll see you again tomorrow.
Take care.